Good morning, sunshine.
Welcome to the real world. Whoa! Mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin with free air. There's no second best, okay?
Good morning.
Every fucking time. GM. Tuesday, 27th of August. GM. Trade of the day. So, BTC, I want to look at. And I want to look here at open interest. As we've had quite a build up into the highs. And if you remember all the way back here, when we saw this open interest build up happening, I mentioned how this could be a build up designed to induce people to get long and squeeze, because it would look like some shorts are building up as price was trying to go lower, open interest was building, and price kept going up and up and up, and then you had a breakout. That may have baited longs to long into this, expecting a big short squeeze. When we had the push up, we saw a drop off of open interest, but not much. And then we had an open interest increase over the weekend as price went sideways. A sign again of positions building, but then a failure to go higher. After that, we saw the market reverse and some of this open interest falling off. So there were positions exiting. And to me, it's really simple. You've got a consolidation here that we're in right now. You've got a high, you've got a low. Whichever side this breaks will probably lead to the next higher time frame direction. If it breaks to the upside, you probably see price reconfirming up here and eventually going higher. If it breaks to the downside, you probably see it unwind more until it flushes out most of this positioning. I'd say that would be what we're looking at right now, because we are right at this inflection point. We are literally right on it. And I think this is the level where people are betting bullish, bearish. So there's going to be a battle around here, no doubt, as you see Bitcoin, trying to go lower, but then failing, and trying to go higher and failing. As I look above, I actually don't see much inefficiency above. We had a sell-off here with no retest at that kind of 64 area. But on lower time frames, there's not really any gaps left, right? This wick up did retest that one. And all the way down, you've pretty much had retests all the way. There's been no breakaway gaps that haven't been filled, right? It broke down, we filled that. It broke here, it broke down there. There is actually a slight gap above. So you could say that this breakdown has been untested so far, which might be a target for price if it rises back up towards that 63.4 area. And of course above here slightly. But overall, this seems like a pretty controlled sell-off. I'm actually interested to see what has Coinbase been doing, this Coinbase spot premium. Let's look at it. It's roughly about the same. We had a Coinbase negative premium. It's returned back to positive. It's heading back towards negative on this sell-off. From the weekend, when Coinbase's premium on Friday pushing into the weekend spiked to its highest, it's been down only ever since. Right, so there has definitely been some return to selling, or at least a lower amount of demand on Coinbase specifically, which is indicative of a market that may be on the way down. Let's check out and dig down a little bit more into spot markets. Right, let's look at Coinbase. Let's look at some of the sell pressure, buy sell volume. Let's look at the delta and Coinbase specifically. So we had a lot of buying there on Coinbase towards the end of the session. Now that's generally ETF flows related rather than being directional. And so the overall trend of Coinbase is really absent any demand since Friday, which makes sense. There's not going to be a whole lot on the weekends. If we compare now CVD on spot, I'll put two of those on, CVD on futures. I'll just put one of those on. In fact, I'll put two of them on. And we'll look at some of these. So I want to take off, just leave Binance. So we look at Binance Spot individually. We will look at Coinbase spot, just the main USD pair. And we will look at Bybit as well, which we'll put in yellow. And we'll look at Bybit. Bybit spot volumes have really risen, by the way, consistently over the past several months, to the point where Bybit, I think, is second. And so yeah, you see that rise in Coinbase CVD on Monday towards the end of the session, but it's being sold into by Binance Spot, by Bybit Spot, and by futures. So the whole futures market. Everything here since this peak, since this top on Sunday night, the market's all in agreement except Coinbase Spot. So who's right here is basically what we're trying to ascertain. In terms of sell pressure, it seems like the market's in agreement pretty much. You had a divergence here where futures buying was rising over the weekend, whereas spot on all three exchanges, Binance, Coinbase, heavily selling, and Bybit, and then the Coinbase return obviously on Monday. Again, a lot of this is driven purely by the ETFs themselves, because there was another positive inflow day. So towards the end of the session, you saw positive slope on Coinbase Spot, which again is fine. But once price starts to confirm that, that's a good thing. Until then, it's really against the trend. And since this peak here, you know, I can't even see that actually. You see here, right? Since that peak, the spot market and the futures market is in agreement, except for Coinbase. So where is this going to go next? We'll see. We'll see. If price starts to climb back up above that 63.4, you could look at spot and look at Coinbase as being in control. Otherwise, I think the market's in agreement that we're going down. What else? Let me look at some of this. Other data. From the highs all the way down, you've had open interest declining, you've had long liquidations along the way. Slight divergence in long liquidations here, which might be a low time frame reversal sign. We've got funding rate just sort of sideways, no real clear indicator there. Spot premium remains, and spot and future CVDs fairly similar. So a fairly balanced market, which would lead me to say, okay, if the market continues to be balanced in that sense and price going down, then expect price to continue in that direction until something changes. So really, yeah, you need to see price reclaiming some of these levels. We can now actually go and look at Monday's value area, which is a great way to trade on Tuesdays. So I'd say if you look at the trade today, I think you want to take yesterday's value area, the first day of the week, Monday. We go here, all the way to Monday's close, over here. And this is a good confluence as well. So you've got a value area low for Monday, which got retested early on Tuesday. Actually hasn't been retested yet. So you got a value area low, POC and value area high. To confirm bullish and reclaim of this upper range, you want to see it get above 63.9, basically above 64. It could reject off here. If it comes up, it could reject off the value area low and be bearish. It could squeeze to the point of control and still be bearish, right? Because that's a valid Monday range breakout to the downside, and it could come as high as the POC and reject as well. So if you're looking for absolute confirmation, this needs to accept above 63.4 first of all, and ideally above 63.6. And once it starts to move towards 64, that's when you're saying, all right, there's no reason to go to 64 if we're not going to have a go at the highs. And so if you're looking at that and we get above 64, you're looking at go to the highs. If it takes them out, comes back, you're looking at to hold around the 63.6, 63.4 area. If price is able to do that and reclaim, you're looking at higher prices. Otherwise, you're looking at lower. So, you know, as we go again here, zoom all the way in, lower time frame, you've got these bearish sell-offs and sideways corrections, and then it goes to the lows again. It takes these lows out, and everyone gets short, but then it bounces, and it's not going to be easy. You're not just going to short down into these moves and see, you know, easy continuations. Every time it tries to go lower, you can see it here, like it breaks down, but it bounces. It breaks down again, but it bounces. It breaks down, it squeezes. And a lot of this is more corrective price action, right? Meaning this tells me distribution is happening, not accumulation. Because even though it's bouncing at areas just where shorts would pile in. So it makes a new low, people short into it, it bounces. It makes a new low, people short into it, it bounces. But the bounces, as soon as they reach resistance, they're distributing again and selling off. So you need to see a shift in that, which has to be some kind of a sustained reclaim of key levels above. And that's where I would go back to the value area and look at that in the context of this move, right? So depending on where you're drawing it, I mean, I had drawn it on the 15-minute first of all. I think 15 minutes is a fine place to draw it. I would say you're very, very first, just to have any sign of bullishness, it needs to reclaim 62, 63.2, 63.3. And otherwise, you're looking at probably lower prices. And there's really not much else to say. I mean, you don't really want to overread it or overinterpret it. I think Bitcoin, for me, the reason I closed my swing trade is because I was looking for a gap to remain. I was not looking for that to get retested so soon. Because if it's going to be a proper breakout, I would expect the breakout to just hold. Breaks out, doesn't come back into that gap candle. Breaks out here, just continues higher. Breaks out here. This is probably like the closest you can imagine, where it breaks out and it comes back and it fills in part of the candle and it spends about a week failing to break lower, and then it goes higher. That is about the best thing you could hope for here, which would be something like this, where the market doesn't break down, right? Market doesn't break down, and it just sort of grinds through this range for a while. Anything like that would be great, man, especially if it, goes up and down, right? And you start to move higher. That would be a great sign, but that's going to probably take like a week. Don't forget, we spent 2 weeks, consolidating here before this push up. It can easily spend another week or so consolidating. I think that with the nature of how the market is transitioning between bullish and bearish, and every time it pumps up, people get excited again, but then every time it pulls back, they get bearish again, because we're in that period where we've had a bad market and people are sort of hoping it recovers rather than actually having real confidence. You can see more choppy action. So we're at a good area in terms of right now. This 62.8 area should act as your lower time frame pivot. And in terms of trading that, I would say it's not enough to just say, oh, this is broken, right? We've lost this level now. It's not quite that, because it's bouncing around it. It's when you see a move away in either direction, right? If you see a strong breakdown, you're looking at a retest of that level to fail. If you see a strong reclaim, you're looking at a retest that level to hold. So this is a good pivot, but you want to see a strong move in either direction first before trading the reclaim or retest of it. That would be my view. And that's it. GM.